Hello and welcome to my review of the Deathwing Knights for the Dark Angels for Warhammer 40,000. One of these sets will cost you £42.50, which is quite a lot for 5 Terminators. Technically it's 7 models because you get a little Watcher in the Dark on the right hand side just peeping out, and you get that Teleport Homer. It consists of 119 plastic components. That's a fair amount of components. My Deathwing Knights were included in the Deathwing Assault, and at the beginning there was a bit of a rumour about, oh well, are these the knights with the maces or the swords, or does the kit in this set include both options? Yeah, it's the full kit. Of course it would be the full kit. I'll show you the spare parts later on. You do get a decent number of spare parts because obviously all of those helmetless heads and hooded heads and maces and different torsos, even different shield and greaves and things, they are all extra that you could possibly use for other Terminators. I can't see an issue you using them with one of the other 5 Terminators Deathwing that you get in this box set. But if you weren't able to pick them up in this box set, you can now get them separately for £42.50, and you can build, these 5 with the sword and board, with the swords and shields, or you can build them with the maces and shields. I'll talk about those shields later on. So the format of this review, I'll have a look at each one of these Deathwing Knights individually. I'll go through how easy they were to build, point out some of the detail. Then we'll have a look at those spare parts. We'll go through some size comparisons with loads of other Terminators, including sort of standard Terminators and things. Then at the end, I'll go through all of their rules. So first things first, let's have a look at these Deathwing Knights. Start off with the Knight Master. So you get the 4 Deathwing Knights, and then you get this chap here, who is the Knight Master. Very nice looking. The swords are all, so Dark Angels, Gothic, relic kind of swords. You've got some incense, you've got dagger, you've got blades, you've got tassets. The helmets are one of the standout pieces, I think. The shields are very cool too. It's nice to see shields. Hopefully we'll get some kind of Siege Breaker Terminator unit for Imperial Fists if and when they do an Imperial Fist themed supplement. That would be incredible. I'd love to see some very nice heavy duty shields with some cool, much larger thunder hammers. The robes are a great feature. There's Dark Angels iconography everywhere, but yeah, specifically the helmets are so cool. This is what I want to see the helmets look like for Grey Knights, if they ever do increase them and incorporate Primaris into Grey Knights. They don't at the moment. You've got the excellent shoulder pauldrons, are all Dark Angels themed shoulder pauldrons. This one specifically with that name tag, I want to call it. So yeah, that's the Knight Master, a bit of a fancy top icon there as well. Then you've got this Knight. I will say that I would have preferred them in more sort of action poses. I think if you're looking at the companions for Dark Angels, the expert kit in resin, I think their poses are way better. The Cenobian Knights, I think they're called. But yeah, and I think that some of these shields could have had some extra Dark Angels iconography on. They're all quite bland, except for the Knight Master. Then you've got this one, again, just sort of a bit of a stoic pose. But I will say all of the shields, I forgot to mention, are different. You're gonna get some twins with the shields if you're gonna build the Knights with the maces. But this one, bit of a stoic pose going on. This one, kind of walking forward. Yeah, I would just like to see them stomping forward a bit more. Yeah, I do like their robes and how some of their chest pieces are different, and the daggers and things are in different places. So they're all very unique. So if you have 5, they're all going to look totally different. This one is walking forward, probably one of my favourite poses. This one. Yeah, that's what I was expecting with these, sort of walking forward rather than just sort of standing still as statues. but a lot of civilians sort of view Space Marines when they don't move as a living statue, don't they? Then you've got the Teleport Homer. I don't think it's anything specific for Dark Angels. I couldn't see any iconography. It's just a Teleport Homer. Maybe the rocks are a little bit different, but it could be exactly the same. And then we've got one of the Watchers in the Dark. Yeah, there's no options for this little dude. You know, if you get another set, he's going to look exactly the same. It just comes in 3 parts. Yeah, those 2 things are kind of little extras, aren't they? But they are tied to the rules for this unit. Different to the Watcher in the Dark for the normal Deathwing Terminator set. I say normal Deathwing set, you can't really get that at the moment. It's more you buy the Terminator set and then you get the Deathwing, you get the Dark Angels upgrade sprues, and this is the Watcher in the Dark that you get for that. But yeah, he'll feature in their review soon. So that's my look at the Deathwing Knights. Let me show you their spare parts, which are right here. So a fair amount of parts, really. So you get 1 spare shield. Not sure how you could use that for anything. Maybe if you've got some way of attaching it to a wrist, you probably could, but that's the spare shield. This is the different torso that I didn't use. I've got a spare sword that I didn't use. I guess this was instead of the Oath of the Unforgiven kind of sword, great weapon of the Unforgiven. Of course, you're going to get 6 maces. They're very nice maces. Maybe you could use them for Sons of Horus Terminators, possibly. I couldn't see any issues with that. You kind of get like a bigger mace, this one. That's very crushable, isn't it? So 6 maces, 2 shoulder pauldrons spare. So again, I probably could have used this shoulder pauldron on the standard Terminator Captain, but I didn't. I just liked that the Terminator Captain had a more of a flared top part, so that's why I used it. You get a couple of shields that I didn't use, these little shields that go on the armour. 2 tassets that are spare, the arm that I assume is for that sword, 1 extra greave, and then we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 hooded heads. So plenty of options there, which I will be using for you know, the second set. And then we've got a couple of heads that look very similar, actually, to the Terminator Captain's head. Very similar. A spare helmeted head and another helmetless head. So 3 helmetless heads there. That's not including the hooded ones. I guess you could kind of call them helmetless too. So yeah, a lot of spare heads in this set. Not a huge amount of spare parts. Okay then, size comparisons. So probably the comparison you'd like to see the most maybe is with Belial and the Lion. So here's Belial. This is where he stands. He's going to be a great leader for these Deathwing Knights, and I would strongly suggest you know, you bundle him in with this unit when you're gaming and things, because not only are they awesome from a narrative point of view, they just look very cool and they work very well together. Yeah, you could bundle him with normal Deathwing Terminators and things, but you know, sword and shield, he's got the sword, he's got the Stormbolter, you know, compared to like a Terminator, standard kind of looking Terminator with the plasma cannon, you know, he's fully adorned with Dark Angels, icons and symbols and things. So the Deathwing Knights, these Deathwing Terminators, not as much, you know, you might get a shoulder pauldron that has Deathwing icon on, or maybe you might get a little shield that has that, but nowhere near as much as the normal Deathwing Knights. I think also he would work well with the Knights that have the maces too. But that's where he stands up next to them. I've already just shown you a normal Deathwing Terminator. Very, very similar in size. I don't know which helmet I like the look of the most. I mean, this Terminator one is so iconic. The Dominus pattern with the dog type helmet, but I do like these sort of Grey Knight type Terminator helmets too. I'm torn between them, and I do like the flared shoulder pauldrons. It's a tough decision if I had to make. They both look awesome as Terminators, and we're living in a great time for, you know, players that like Terminators, I guess. Compared to, I don't know, just a normal Terminator captain, he's got his sword and combi weapon. He's on the 50mm base, very similar. Yeah, he could work as like a stand-in, but remember, I think he's more expensive than Belial, so why? Then you've got the Lion, L. Johnson. Why not? Let's put him in with these knights. Again, the synergy of this set with the Lion works very well. He's got this really long power sword, and he's got the shield of the Emperor. These have got swords and shields. They've all got the Dark Angels iconography. Works fantastically well. Very expensive though at this point in terms of points cost. You know, 365 points for the Lion, and then yeah, we'll talk about the points for the Knights in a moment. Final comparison is obviously with the usual suspects. So I have Primaris on the right as usual, normal Space Marine, and then Sly Marbo. Just comparing with him. Yeah, these Terminators are going to dwarf normal Space Marines. And I think Sly Marbo is probably the same size as his shield. And then a normal Intercessor, similar, you know, not that far off the height-wise Intercessors to these Terminators. But again, Intercessors are going to work well with the Terminator unit, especially if you've got some Dark Angels ones with, you know, plasma guns or Hell Blasters and things like that. Okay, this is my part of the review where I will go through all of the rules for the Deathwing Knights. You'll find them in your brand new 10th edition Dark Angels Codex supplement, and they will cost you a whopping 290 points for the 5 models, which is 85 points more than a normal Deathwing Terminator squad, which is huge. What are you getting for these almost 300 points? I mean, it's going to cost you 655 points just for 5 Knights and Lionel Johnson. Quite expensive, quite pricey for points. But what you're getting for these 290 points is a movement of 5 inches, toughness of 5, save of 2+, with an invulnerable of 4+, 4 wounds each, leadership 6+, and objective control 1. Now, those big shields that are the same size as people aren't mentioned anywhere in the whole data sheet, which is so, well, annoying. I would have liked them to have like a 3+ invulnerable save because of that. I think as it stands, they're just getting an extra wound. They're getting 4 wounds because that's the only difference I can see with the normal Terminators. You know, they don't get a better toughness or anything for it. It is literally just an extra wound. So that shield takes that extra wound for them. So although you're looking at 5 models there, technically you are looking at 20 wounds. So 4 times, you know, you look at 5 models, in a way you could look at it as 20 models. You know, with more survivability, with that toughness 5 and the incredible save of 2+ and 4+ invulnerable. The unit composition is 1 Knight Master and 4 Deathwing Knights. The Knight Master is equipped with Great Weapon of the Unforgiven, and every Deathwing Knight is equipped with Mace of Absolution. The war gear options: the Knight Master's Great Weapon of the Unforgiven can be replaced with 1 Relic Weapon, which might be worth doing. And all Deathwing Knights in the unit can each have their Mace of Absolution replaced with 1 power weapon. This unit can be equipped with 1 Watcher in the Dark. Their weapons then. So the melee weapons. To start off with the Knight Master's Great Weapon of the Unforgiven. Of course it's a melee weapon. It's got devastating wounds and sustained hits 1. Has 5 attacks, weapon skill 2+, strength 6, AP -2, damage 2. Okay, that's alright. You can upgrade that to a relic weapon, which has lethal hits now, and has 1 extra attack at 6, same weapon skill at 2+, but this time it's strength of 7, AP -2 and damage 2, so no change with those two at the end. The Mace of Absolution, if you wanted to go down that route and give them all maces. 4 attacks each, weapon skill 2+, strength 6, AP -1 or damage 2. You can opt to have them, you can opt to give them, you can opt to equip them with power weapons, bumps up their attacks to 5. The weapon skill is still 2+ and the strength is 6, but their AP now goes up to -2 and the damage is 1. And the damage drops to 1. So really it's whether you want more attacks at a better armor penetration but lower damage, or whether you would like fewer attacks at a worse AP but more damage. You know, that's the trade-off between them. But the shields don't do anything. Well, maybe other than giving them that extra wound. Their abilities, they have, the core ability is Deep Strike and their faction ability is Oath of Moment. They have the Teleport Homer, so at the start of the battle you can set up 1 Teleport Homer token for the unit anywhere on the battlefield that is not in your opponent's deployment zone. Once per battle, you can target this unit with Rapid Ingress stratagem for 0 command points. When resolving the stratagem, you must set this unit up within 3 inches horizontally of that token and not within 9 inches horizontally of any enemy models. Then the token's removed. They have this Inner Circle ability, where each time an attack is allocated to a model in the unit, you subtract 1 from the damage characteristic of that attack. That's pretty nice. Ironically, the Inner Circle don't have the Inner Circle ability. I have to chuckle at that one. War Gear abilities, Watcher in the Dark. So you can give them a Watcher in the Dark. Works exactly the same as the Watcher in the Dark for the Deathwing Terminator squad, whereby once per battle in any phase, the unit can summon a Watcher in the Dark. When it does, until the end of the phase, models in this unit have a Feel No Pain of 4+ against mortal wounds. That's, yeah, game changing, you know. For that one turn that you want it, for that one phase, yeah. You got 4+ against mortal wounds. Brilliant. Attach unit. If a character from your army with the leader ability can be attached to a Terminator squad, it can be attached to this unit instead. Fantastic. Put Belial in there. Put other leaders in there. Keywords: Infantry, Imperium, Terminator, Deathwing, Deathwing Knights, Adeptus Astartes and Dark Angels. So there you go, that's my review of the Deathwing Knights. Quite pricey in terms of points, you know, almost 300 points. Survivable, yes, you can march them on the battlefield, but because they're so pricey, I would put them in a Land Raider, or I would at least Deep Strike them. I wouldn't keep them on, I wouldn't start them off on the battlefield unless you've got a lot of cover and things, because they're such a pricey unit that your opponent will target them, especially if they have a juicy character like Belial or something in there. They're very specific, melee focused. You know, you're not going to be blowing up many tanks and things on your opponent. So if your opponent has a very long-ranged fire support or heavy armor army, then their usefulness is going to depreciate, especially compared to like a much cheaper Deathwing Terminator squad that has that nice plasma cannon that it can pop off and has those power fists or even chain fists that have the strength 8. You know, the highest strength you're going to have with a unit like this is the 7, and that's just one weapon, that relic weapon for the Knight Master. The rest of the weapons are strength 6, so against bigger, tougher foes you might have some issues. I was at least hoping that the maces would be a decent strength, you know, but they turn out they're the same strength as those power swords. And I was hoping that the shields would have given them a better invulnerable save, like a 3+. Let's see what Imperial Fists get. If their shields give them an extra better save, then yeah, we know we've been duped. That usually always used to be the case in the old editions, where you had your normal save and where your combat shield or your storm shields and things gave you a better invulnerable save. What do you guys think of the Deathwing Knights, of the miniatures themselves? I think they're awesome. I think they could be improved slightly with their poses, but other than that, they fit very well with Dark Angels. Please do put your thoughts and opinions in the comments below. It'd be good to hear from you. Thank you for watching. The Emperor Protects.